This ain't for no show. I was gonna do a pod intro like I usually do, ripping and running.
Yeah.
Michael, you just say your first and last name for me and spell it out.
Yeah, DaMichael Cole. That's DaMichael Cole Cole.
DaMichael. Like I said, hey, again, like I said, on wax. Thank you for your time. Being from the city, just tell me a little bit about your upbringing, what got you into, sports journalism, and how like that kind of stacked going through high school and college.
Man, being from the city, it's you're probably the story you used to hear when you talk about being from Memphis and really being from Memphis, like being from inner city Memphis. I grew up pretty much a single parent household, me, my mom, my little brother, and from that point on, just watching my mom work, her work ethic, her drive, working 12-hour shifts, sometimes 7 days a week during the peak months of the year when it got to Christmas time, Thanksgiving, all those days. So she missed a lot of, our games and things like that when we played sports coming up. But it was all, for a bigger sacrifice to give me and my brother, opportunities that I eventually got. But yeah, coming up, that pretty much was my story. It was a lot of life lessons that I learned, but it's something I'm really grateful for because every inch of energy and my work ethic, all of it traces back to that upbringing. And the good part of that upbringing that a lot of people don't talk about is, for me, we try to focus on all the things that we don't have access to. I felt like I had access to a lot of people who were close to making it, and boom, one mistake. Oh, I could have been this top football player. I was one of the best high school players in the city and the state, and then boom, they made one mistake. So that kind of helped me stay on the straight and narrow because I saw instead of growing up in a different situation where I'm seeing all the people who ended up being NFL players and sports commentators and things like that. I saw the people who had those dreams and aspirations, and because of circumstances and surroundings and things like that, were held back. So all of that played a role, in me just wanting to, do something different and me having the drive to be able to, finally complete that mission.
So talking about the upbringing, like that, we just talked a little bit about. Like I feel the same similar way in terms of like, yeah, it wasn't a lot of people that I've seen doing what what you're doing, what I'm trying to get into. So it definitely made it, like you said, just gave me that extra drive to be able to try to have something to reach for. But with that, on that backside, it isn't like a lot of paths to follow. So how outside of like what you were looking at on the day to day, like was there somebody that you was emulating, that you was looking up to, that you was like, I want to do that. I'm trying to, not copy their work, but this is a path that they taking that I can see myself taking.
Yeah, it wasn't really one person in particular. It was just, the love that I had for sports and just wanting to be that kid who had that drive of watching sports and just the art of competition. Like that was something that I was always intrigued by. Just when I was very little, I know my mom always tells the story of, when me and my brother and my little cousin stayed together, we were three in a room. We had, it was three of us in one room, and we get out of school. They're typical kids. They're regular kids. They want to watch cartoons on the TV in our room. Well, me, I want to put the TV on Sports Center so I can watch Around the Horn, PTI. I got to see what's been going on Sports Center. So I'm the oldest, so I'm, holding the remote from them. I'm like, nah, I'm about to watch sports. They're normal little kids, man. They want to watch Cartoon Network. They want to watch Nickelodeon, Disney Channel. So my mom would have to, come get me out there. She'd either take me in her room or I'll watch TV in the living room or something like that. But that's kind of, just to describe, like, I always had the passion for it. It wasn't one person in particular. But as I got older, as I learned that, wow, it's actually a couple people who are from Memphis that have done this before. Let me go back and read some of their work, like a Ralph Wiley, who I think passed away in 2003, 2004, from a Sports Illustrated writer. He covered, I think, Seattle Supersonics, or he was out there on the West Coast for a while. Michael Smith, who, as I was coming up, you talk about people I was watching. He was someone I watched. And when I saw Michael Smith, I saw someone from the South who talked a little bit like me.
All day, thanks.
Yeah, you know how it is. And for me, when I left Memphis and got to Philadelphia, when I got my first job, it's everybody say, oh man, they all caught on to my quote unquote Southern accent and things like that. And it was a guy like Michael Smith as I got older, and I realized, man, I see Black people on TV. I see that vision, but at the same time, these Black people are from, the Midwest. They're from the East Coast. They're from Southern Cal. And I'm like, where's the, the South is, we're gonna be talking on TV. We say stuff like y'all and we shorten words, like we say getting instead of getting and things like that. So I need to see that a little bit more. And Michael Smith was one of the first ones that I saw personally that gave me that confidence boost from that perspective. And I mean, at that point, man, it was just all about my personal inner drive. Like I said, it was the work ethic of my mom, seeing her go super hard. It was my drive just for sports, passion. And at that point, it was just full speed ahead.
We actually, like, I'm going through a lot of that up here being in Syracuse. Like, yeah, especially going to undergrad and playing football in Houston. It was a thing that even like once I finished up my senior year, like trying to fully dive into the media world, it wasn't a thing down there because I sounded like everybody else down there. But coming
Yeah.
up here, it definitely was, speaking a little bit slower. I feel like, I got to Houston, everybody talks so slow. So I was already out loud down there. And like you said, up here is definitely like a more prim and proper and pronounced word type of thing. What type of adjustments, skipping around a little bit, I kind of want to do it chronologically. What kind of things have been struggles, obstacles for you, being a black man, being a man from the South, in just terms of, things that you've seen that you didn't like, also things that you had to adjust about the way you go about your business?
Man, the things that I struggled with uh, is the easiest one is the fact that it all starts with the representation in our business. I mentioned some of the names that I saw growing up, but still, it wasn't a lot. It wasn't enough for me to feel like, man, this is I can go in there and wholeheartedly be the kid from Memphis, Tennessee, and do this thing. But when I got to college, it really hit me, man. I went to the University of Tennessee. I know you said you wanted to do chronologically, so we might come back to this a little bit later. So I'll sum it up real quick. But I went to the University of Tennessee. Most people know that it's a PWI. It's a very predominantly white school, and I think the black percentage was very low. Most of the black kids that went to the University of Tennessee came from three major cities: Nashville, Memphis, Atlanta, and other places they were sprinkled in. But for the most part, it wasn't a lot of us. It's like a chocolate chip in a white milk carton. That's how it felt up there in Knoxville. But the blessing in it was when I got to that newsroom, when I got to the student newsroom, and I was in the student newspaper, my first 2 to 3 years as being on the sports newspaper staff, the student newspaper staff, I was the only black kid. And it was a struggle for me at first because it was hard for that 19, 20-year-old kid to just truly be himself. Go up to them and say, "What's up, y'all?" and talk how I talk. I felt like everybody else is talking like this. Maybe I gotta, that's how I gotta feel my way in. But once I realized, I'm talented at this. I'm doing my podcast and things like that. And I'm like, I'm good at this. Once my junior year, really my senior year, once my senior year hit and I already had all these great opportunities, I covered the football team, I covered the basketball team, I was covering, high school sports for the local media outlets around the city. Once I got that confidence in myself, it was like, man, you know what? I'm me, man. I'm not like these people. I didn't grow up like them. I didn't grow up around them, and I'm nothing like them. In my senior year, I fully was able to express that even more. And once I got to that point, that's when I said I can do this. Like I can be full-time sports journalist, be DaMichael Cole, be that kid from Memphis, Tennessee. That's a little bit different because I had a little bit different background coming up.
You like hearing you talk through it, like you literally talking through, what I had to go through my first year here in the leave of absence, and then like coming back and being enrolled in class. It's something that I'm still going through. Where like,
Yeah.
yeah, especially when we'll talk a little bit about that too. With the way that this game is evolving, like you got to be able to do right pod, be on TV at the drop of an like so you got to be able to have like these different muscles. And there is there's a way that you want to present yourself on air versus when I'm pod, and that's more casual. And then the way that you write. So for me, like I said, just hearing you talk through it, like honestly, like I said, we recording, but just hearing you talk through that, like feeling that same way about it, like that makes me feel good because you even saying that you like follow my work, like I appreciate that because I try to like balance that line between like, let's say, keeping the professionalism intact, but also like not abandoning my people. I think we both talked about this. One of the biggest reasons why we do this is because we want to have that representation, the true representation of people that from our neighborhoods and where we came from. So like, it's not a thing that we done blew up and kind of left the people that made us behind. So hearing you say that, like, I really appreciate that.
Most
It's a lot of
definitely.
sports fans though, DaMichael, for sure. Like I said, most of our city is sports fans for real, for real. So when was that term? Because where'd you go to high school? Central?
No, I went to Overton High School. Yeah, I went to Overton.
Okay. Oh, y'all got a really good like liberal arts type of show. So when was the first? What's the first like journalistic thing that you did, and what was that? I guess conversion for you to be like, I'm just a sports fan to I want to be able to talk about this intelligent.
Well, it was always something I wanted to do, man. I mean, sports. I had two plan A's pretty much growing up as a kid. You know, I love the sport of baseball. I played baseball growing up, and I loved sports journalism. I couldn't figure out if I wanted to do writing, broadcast, radio, whatever my niche was. This is growing up as a kid, but I knew I wanted to be in that field, and I wanted to have that space. So as I got older, I remember when I was getting ready to go to high school. We just mentioned I went to Overton High School. Overton was a performing arts high school. I'm gonna sum this story up real quick, man, because I got so many stories where things happened for the betterment of my life, but at the time, I didn't see the good in them. And this is one of those situations when I was getting ready to go to high school. I had three high schools on my list, and it was White Station High School, it was Overton, and it was Ridgeway. And White Station and Ridgeway were my top two, and Overton was my third school. My home school was Sheffield High School, and my mama didn't want me to go there because you could probably figure out why. And I didn't really want to go to
South Wind, and I feel you. So
yeah,
it's crazy to say that. My daddy went to White Station, so that was my top one, and Ridgeway was like the more respectable one around the corner in East Memphis still. So we had the same top two public ones before I went to Los Angeles. So it's
most definitely, man, most definitely. So like for me, White Station and Ridgeway were my top two. I couldn't go to White Station because by the summer, the school was full. After my 8th grade year, it was full, so couldn't get in. And then Ridgeway would only accept me into their IB program. And, I was smart, but I didn't want to go into an IB program, like straight out of middle school. So I'm like, mm-mm. So, then Overton, it was like, okay, they'll accept you, but you got to do band. And I was like, why can't I do broadcast? But band was on my report card from middle school. And, that was the way I could get into the school. And I figured that was better than going to Sheffield for me. So I ended up doing band at Overton High School. So it was always in the back of my mind. And as soon as I got to college, it wasn't a week. I got my major, sports journalism major, and I went to all the student journalism interest meetings. I went to the student newspaper. I went to the one for the student TV channel, and I went to the one for the radio. And I went to all three. The one I wanted the most at the time was the TV one. They didn't accept me. Got declined again for the betterment of your career. And it's crazy because I did not like the interview process. I didn't feel like it was very thorough. Granted, it was like probably 150, 200 freshmen in there. So I'm sure they probably like, we got to turn this around quick. So they interviewed us 3 to a room, right? It was me and 2 other people in the room. And they're interviewing us all at the same time, asking us the same question. And we're just going down the line answering. So I'm like, how are they gonna, figure this out? But I didn't get selected for that. So the next option for me was the student newspaper. I got selected for the student newspaper. By my second semester of my freshman year, I was getting writing opportunities. And by my sophomore year, I was the beat writer for the Lady Vols soccer team. And then I covered baseball that second semester. And, the rest was history after that. Next thing you know, I was covering football and basketball.
We're talking about school, and like even for me, like, hey, having a scholarship for undergrad, it made it a lot easier to to take on this depth and this further scholastic endeavor with grad school. But for you, somebody that's out here doing it, in the space I'm trying to get into, what were some of the things that you learned in school that really did translate to what you do now, and what things didn't?
Man, it's a lot, and here's how I put it too, because people have different opinions on this, but I felt like for me personally, my best experience wasn't necessarily in the classroom. It was in the field. In the classroom kind of served as like insurance in a way in terms of what I'm learning in the classroom, I apply it to the field and I see it in the field. So when I get back to the classroom, it's like you already have the examples. So that's kind of how it worked out for me. Like, for example, at UT, the very first class that all journalists have to take is kind of like a history class where you're diving in on the history of journalism, and you're learning about Walter Cronkite, the radio channels, the first TV station, and things like that. And by that point, I'm already at the student newspaper, so they're teaching me what a lead is, a nut graph, and I was able to get a head start. And it wasn't until my sophomore year when I think I was learning these things in the classroom, but I had already, I was already covering Lady Vol soccer team. I wasn't really good. I was a second year student, but still, I was already doing what everyone will tell you is the most important thing to do when you're a writer, and that's reading. I was already reading all the beat writers, in the city when I would write my stories, going to soccer events and games like that. I'd see, if there was another reporter that came, I'd read their stories, I'd read the football articles, things like that, and kind of get an idea of how to frame my work and how to kind of put my own voice and inflection on all those things. So that was a big part of it for me. I feel like the classroom kind of served this real good backup for me. It was being out in the field, second semester of my freshman year, going to swimming and diving events, Lady Vol tennis events, and I'm already doing interview stuff before even in the classroom we were learning, interview tactics and things like that. So once I learned those things in the classroom, it was like, now I can fix these things that I was doing on the field. But for me, the best experience was just getting out there.
So that I'll just jump into it now. With you, like knowing your main areas of expertise, baseball, basketball, football, just the stuff that you're gonna intake as a fan. How was it learning, diving events, soccer events, and making sure that you cover those things with the same passion and the same information as you would a Braves game?
Man, it's simple. Like I told you earlier, I love the art of competition. So once we're talking about the competitive nature, and once I'm talking and interviewing people, and I feel how much they want it, I'm engaged. It doesn't take much. We could be seeing who throws eggs the farthest outside, and you tell me, man, I've been training for this for 2 months, and I'm gonna be pumped to see how it ends for you after you put in all that work and stuff like that. So for me, like I just wanted to get in the door. I understood very quickly that every freshman is going to want to come in and say, hey, I want to cover Tennessee football. I want to cover Tennessee basketball. But you got to do the dirty work. You got to go to that golf event. You got to go to that Lady Vol soccer match where 500 people are there if you want to go cover that game at Neyland Stadium where it's 104,000. You got to put in, the work, because at the end of the day, more people are going to be reading that baseball story or that football story, and you want your work to be of a decent quality, even if you're a student at that point. So, man, that was pretty much, that's pretty much what it was for me.
Art of competition. I'm recording all this, and I'm going to go back and transcribe, or at least put it down for my notes. But I just want to be taking notes, because it's a lot of game, and hey, it's not a thing to where obviously in your face, thankfully, even you recognize my work. It's the thing, I built up a decent following. So I am, very particular with the people that, I reach out to and try to consider role models. Because it's a lot of people, there are a lot of people that are doing it right in our market, but there's a lot of disinformation and stuff like that going on out there. And I see that it is a lot of things that you just talked about, people skipping the dirty work and shooting right to the top, whether it be hierarchy or other different things that be at play, and once they get to that top level, you'll see the gaps in their game, kind of essentially. So it's nice to know that you was able to actually build your way up. Getting to it, probably the thing that I'm coming up in a year, honestly, 7-8 months, getting out of school, getting that first job. I know SJI, that's something that actually I want to rap with you about off wax. But what was your process, and what did it look like for you coming out of college, getting to the Inquirer, right for SI? What did that look like for you? How did you get these opportunities?
Man, so first I approached college as a business opportunity. My mindset when I got to college was not that oh, this is going to be the most fun 4 years of my life. I'm going to have the time of my life. That actually wasn't my personal mindset. I always tell people, for me, high school was probably the 4 years that were more fun, because when I got to college, it was all about getting in the door. I told you, first day of school, I'm going to all these journalism events. And at that point, sophomore year, I emailed every newspaper, in the state of Tennessee, a couple in Mississippi, because, Memphis, the Memphis borders, Mississippi. So I emailed a couple there and tried to get opportunities. Couldn't get anything at that point. My junior year, I got an internship at the Tri-State Defender in Memphis, Tennessee. I applied for SJI, Sports Journalism Institute, my junior year, didn't get accepted. But again, kept building that resume up. And then it was my senior year, man. SJI was my big break, Sports Journalism Institute. I reapplied for my senior year and got that opportunity. And after I graduated from the University of Tennessee, SJI, before I get to that, when I talk about building my resume up, my senior year, I had 4 jobs. And I had my own podcast. I was doing it on my personal time. I worked for a radio station, and I freelanced for local papers in the area. And I was working at the Daily Beacon, the student newspaper, at the University of Tennessee. So I was balancing all these things because I wanted to just stack that resume up. Like, I want them to see, hey, I can podcast, I can do, the radio stuff, I can do, the writing, and I'm getting good writing experience by going all these different places. So that was what it was all about. And, that kind of helped my chances with SJI. And once I got selected, I think it was 14 of us in my SJI class, 14 across the country. It was a huge honor for me. And SJI, if for those who aren't familiar, what SJI does is you choose 14, kids who come, from minority backgrounds. And what they do is we go to a boot camp for a week. So for us, we went to a 1-week boot camp at Arizona State, at the Cronkite School of Journalism. We went out there for a week with some of the best, people in the business, and they really challenged us. They put us on deadline writing stories. We got to talk to, Marcus Thompson of The Athletic. We got to talk to, I believe, Michael Wilbon. There have been other classes. They got to talk to Stephen A. Smith. He comes pretty regularly. We didn't our year, but we got to talk to so many great people in the business who came in and had great conversations with us. But you get the 1-week boot camp. But then here's the turning point that, kind of goes back to your question. SJI put me in position to get an internship with Sports Illustrated, because through SJI, they split the 14 kids up at 14, media organizations throughout the country. And for me, it was Sports Illustrated. So I went to New York City, first time in my life leaving the South, period. But I went to New York City, was at Sports Illustrated the entire summer, left there, and again, SJI roots came back into play. When I left Sports Illustrated, I didn't know exactly where I was going to be doing next. I was kind of fishing a little bit. I left there in around the middle of August, and I think I started at the Philadelphia Inquirer at the beginning of October. And what happened was, one random day in September, I got a call, and it was someone asking me, if I would like to work at the Philadelphia Inquirer. And I'm like, yeah, like, what? Would I? Like,
the bomb.
Yeah. So basically, again, what we learn in this business is the importance of connections, the importance of networking. And I can wholeheartedly say every job that I've gotten to this point has been due to, the connections. And along with my work, of course, like everyone work is, the most important thing. But right behind it, you got to build those connections. And building that network and those connections, how I ended up in Philadelphia was someone through the SJI branch, mentioned my name to when someone at the Philadelphia Inquirer reached out to this person who's associated with SJI and basically said, hey, we are looking, for a young rising reporter to kind of fill this fellowship that we have. And they said, I got a guy for you, DaMichael Cole. And just off the strength of that man's word recommended me, they flew me out there for an interview, and I did well in the interviews, got the job at the Philadelphia Inquirer, and that's kind of how my career started to take shape.
I said, I think if it goes well enough, it actually can be published somewhere. So I'll do some editing, but I won't bear the lead. DaMichael is actually the beat reporter for, I'm gonna say commercial appeal. What is it now? Memphis News. I think is that the publication that it's kind of.
It's yeah. The name of it is the Commercial Appeal. I think the Twitter handle and the Instagram handle definitely say Memphis News, but yeah, the Commercial Appeal. Yep.
Okay, so DaMichael is the beat reporter for Memphis Grizzlies at the Commercial Appeal. Like I said, was that the job that you got immediately after leaving the Inquirer?
Yeah. And you know, it was a tough decision because I enjoyed being in Philly, and Philly was great to me. They gave me an opportunity to be the first sports culture writer in Philly. After a year, I got a promotion, and I know I mentioned I started out on a fellowship, and 1 year after I started on the fellowship, they boosted me to pretty much a full-time writer and gave me the designation of sports culture reporter. So I did that for about a year, and you know, the next thing you know, I got the opportunity to come back home. You know, born and raised in Memphis. I mean, that's kind of what you ask for as a kid. I get to be back around family. I know I mentioned I spent 4 years at the University of Tennessee, so that's Knoxville, Tennessee, which is still in the state, but it's 6 hours away from Memphis. So it felt like I've been gone from Memphis for the past 6.5 years when you factor in college and then moving to Philadelphia. So getting the opportunity to cover the Grizzlies at the time was a rising team. They had a young star player. It was something that I couldn't pass up on.
For me, like, and also just for the audience, you don't got to go through too much detail that I will be here all night. But what is like a normal day and weekly slate of stuff that you got to do for that beat?
Yeah, so as a beat writer, the number one thing is you got to make yourself available as much as possible because things happen, I mean, just out of thin air. As of this very second, boom, something could happen, an injury report thing or something like that. And I'm on it. I gotta, that's kind of the life that we live. But you talk about a day to day. So I'll run through a game day, so to speak. So you learn the flow of the NBA as a beat writer. Usually, the Grizzlies will have morning shoot around. You talk to players in the morning shoot around 9, 10 a.m. And then boom, you write something off of that. So I'm writing a story after morning shoot around, and then you're monitoring, what's going on. For example, if a player's on the injury report, the NBA updates its injury report, I think every 3 hours. So I'm checking that, making sure a player's status isn't updated and saying, hey, he's out, he's to play. Because if I found out that the day before he was listed as questionable, and then at 12 p.m. on the injury report, he's listed as out, and I missed that, and another reporter gets it, then it reflects bad on me. So I'm scanning that, and if a player's injury status changes, even if it's a player that wasn't listed on the injury report, and all of a sudden he's listed as questionable, I got to write that real quick. So then you get up close to game time. Let's say 7:00 game for the Memphis Grizzlies. Grizzlies play at 7:00. I get to the arena about 4:30 p.m. So I get there for about 30 minutes where I'm just walking around the arena, scanning the arena. A lot of reporters will tell you that the best work that reporters do comes when the laptop is closed. So I'm walking around the arena. I'm just scanning the arena. You never know what you're going to see. You never know who you're going to see. At 5:15, we talk to Taylor Jenkins, the Grizzlies head coach. We talk to him 10, 15 minutes. At 5:30, you go talk to the opposing coach. So we walk over there. We go talk to the opposing coach. That coach says what he has to say. And then you're probably either you're writing something or you're going to the locker rooms. So if we haven't learned the injury designation and a coach reveals it right before the game, if we say, hey, who's going to be playing today? And he says, oh, John Moran is out today. Boom, got to go write that. But if not, then you go to the locker room. The players are available in the locker room for about 30 to 45 minutes. All of them won't be in the locker room because some will be warming up since it's before the game, so they'll be fouling in and out. So you talk to a player just in case you're working on a story or you got a question or two for something that's that day or something you're working on long term. So and then there's the game coverage. Game starts at 7:00. I cover the game till about 10. The game ends. I filed my instant story that's filed right after the game. You go talk to Taylor Jenkins and the players. Usually Taylor Jenkins is available about 20 minutes after the game. And then you talk to the players about 11:30 or so until about 11:30. Then I write my last story, which is a follow-up that's with quotes and things like that from the game. And I'm usually done with that stuff at about 1:00.
I say, right? Like just the game laying on me. Like it's stuff that being a student reporter up here at SU, being a decent brand, like it's stuff that I can get those reps as much as possible. Like getting there, like you said, walking around, just kind of mingling, like you said, building that connection, and also
Yeah.
not also just like building the habit that you want to work to. So seeing that, honestly, our routines are kind of similar in the way that we approach game day. It let me know I'm doing something right. I can't lie.
Yeah.
Uh, we talk about like the NBA's constantly updating injury report. That's one thing that I know is kind of like a BTS behind the scenes thing. But yeah, for you, like anything that's on Twitter or anything that's like publicly accessible, like once that hits the streets, like it's already too late for you to report. So for you, what type of things are you looking at? What things are like? How do you stay as informed on the beat as possible and make sure that you're always constantly up to date?
A big part of it is relationships because if you hear you'll notice with this job you're going to hear a lot of rumors, and one person told me that it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. So I hear a lot of rumors a lot. I hear, oh, this player might not play today, this player might not play today, this player might return today. But guess what, if I can't prove that, if I can't source it and have people within the organization or have that person tell me that he's playing, then guess what? It's just a rumor. I can't report on it. I got to sit back. If someone else reports it, as you just mentioned, then I got to follow up and see if I can get someone to confirm it. Hey, I heard that you're playing today. I text one of the players something. Is this true? Or a coach or, someone within the organization who would be within the know. So that's kind of, how we dive through that. But it's relationship building, man. That's kind of how, you put yourself in position. Another thing is just making sure that I'm at all Grizzlies things, all Grizzlies function, all Grizzlies events. A lot of things. Taylor Jenkins, like in the preseason, he would be more revealing. He would let me know, hey, this guy's going to play today. This guy's not going to play today. In this regular season, in the playoffs, coaches get a little bit, more discreet with their stuff because they're trying to withhold something for competitive advantage and things like that. But yeah, that's pretty much the name of the game, man. It's all about just building those relationships to the point where you're going to hear those rumors. It was a couple I remember, like strictly, I'm going to give you one example. Desmond Bain last season had an injury that kept him out for a while. And the day before he played, most people won't remember this. The day before he returned, he was listed as doubtful for that game. So when you see doubtful on the injury report, you think, I'm not going to play. Someone texted me and said, hey, DaMichael, call me. Give him a call, just someone I chit-chat with, known for a little while. And I said, hey, what's up? He said, man, you won't believe who I just ran into at this restaurant. I saw Desmond Bain, and he said he's playing tomorrow. Just off of that, I said, okay, let me check some channels. And I kind of saw, and I reported it out there, and Desmond Bain played. So it's kind of establishing, those relationships that'll put you in position, because I had to take what that person said to me as a rumor, okay? That person said Desmond Bain's playing. This is just somebody that's saying they saw him in a restaurant. Okay, so now I got to go within, find some people that I know that would know. And once you get that confirmed, boom, you can report on it. So, yeah, it's all about building those relationships, man.
And I'm gonna jump right into that because that's something that I've just been very curious about because that's something that you're just not gonna learn in the classroom around here about how to source your stories, the best of those type of ways to get into your to have that inside information. And then for me, the question has always been like, okay, these people know what your job title is, so they're obviously knowing that there's some sort of level of like benefit that they're gonna need from you. That you need from them. So how do you go about like establishing those relationships and establishing those sources, and like them knowing again, like, yeah, I am the beat reporter. I'm gonna rely upon you for tips, but also like not making that the entire basis of y'all's relationship.
Yeah, so you never want to just text someone every time you want to ask for something. Say, hey, is this guy playing today? Like you go through a thread of messages and, hey, is this guy playing? Hey, is this guy playing? Hey, is this guy playing? Like, no, you find common interests, you find common grounds. For me, it's a lot of things. I'm a big sports guy, so I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite teams? Some people went to certain colleges. If you went to an SEC school, now I got to throw the fact that I went to Tennessee in your face. And, if my school plays other people's schools and things like you got to find the common backgrounds. A lot of people, it's anime. I'm not a big anime person myself, but I hear it. I hear it a lot of times, people kind of mingling over anime. You find TV series that you like, oh, You like to watch Power, and I love Power. Now we're talking about Power every week that a new episodes come on. Like you gotta find those common denominators. And myself, like I'm a goofy dude. So like with the Grizzlies, I'll like send someone a video of me shooting a basketball and kind of troll them and say, I shoot better than y'all. Like I'm the best hooper around here. And you just find those common denominators. Then you just be yourself, man. Because getting back to your point, if you're just texting them when you want something, you're just being the journalist. You gotta humanize the situation too. You gotta be yourself, so they won't always just look at you as DaMichael Cole, the reporter. They know, oh yeah, that's DaMichael Cole. That's the kid that grew up in Parkway Village in Memphis, Tennessee too. It's not just DaMichael Cole, the beat writer, at the commercial appeal for the Memphis Grizzlies.
And yes, I don't know. It's really interesting to me because like I'm pretty personable, so I never had a problem making friends. But I don't know. Once I get into this business, even up here, like friendships have never been as important as they are now. I've never really had to like stoke that fire to where I just like kicking it, which I like talking to you. I never really, went into that mentality of like, they need something from you, or I should be trying to establish you as a source. Like even I say like answer for me, I lived in the apartment complex, like it was a 4x4 of guys, it was all football players. And for me, it was just the things where like I was coming in, like I didn't have nobody up here. I was supposed to have my car, I didn't, so I was actually just extra like whatever. So he was like the captain last year. I was moving my stuff in, and I was just seeing a black dude. I just ran up to him. I'm like, "What's up, dog? Like I'm new here. Like I'm just trying to make some friends, whatever." He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm Kel." Like whoop whoop. So it's the thing that like I'm after doing that, but it's just a little bit more pressure on it. Like once we get it there, and it's like friend and source, like that line, it can be really blurred. So I'm really interested in how that goes. DaMichael, social media is not rude. It's definitely changed the way that we go about doing these things. You at a professional level, me at a student level. So what is your balance of like, being, having as much breaking news as I can, being on deadline and making sure that I'm as quick as with the delivery as possible, but also, producing the highest quality content possible.
Yeah, man, it's definitely a line that you gotta walk because just to keep it real with you, like news organizations, they're gonna want to be first. They're gonna want that thing because that pays the bills to a certain degree. People that subscribe to these organizations, they want inside information. They want things that they're not going to get anywhere else. They want things that they know. Oh, if this comes out, I know who's going to have it first. So that's a big part of it. But the quality is so important, and you can't get lost in that. And I think when you talk about social media, what it's done, you see, like a lot of people will tweet out their information before writing it in a story and posting the story. And in a way, you kind of have to these days because if, again, the injury report comes out at 5 p.m., right? If we find out that Ja Morant is not playing on that injury report, you got to tweet it out or someone else is going to tweet it out. So if you don't tweet it out, guess what? You may say, I'm not going to tweet it. I'm about to go ahead and start writing my story. Boom, someone else tweets it. And the next thing you know, their story comes out 10 minutes later than yours. But they put the story link under their already viral tweet. And most people are going to click on that story because that tweet is already going viral. So they'll say, here's the story with more information and things like that. So it's a thin line, man. You got to be able to, again, everything has to be confirmed. I think that's the most important thing. Like I told you, I heard the Desmond Bain thing. That wasn't something that I was just, hey, I heard Desmond Bain may be playing tomorrow. No, you got to be careful. You got to say, hey, let me make sure because this is my credibility here. This is it's a lot at stake here, and you got to make sure. I'm going to check with this person. We're going to check to that person. Okay, I got 2 sources verified that this is the case. Boom. So that's kind of how you operate along that line. But quality is the most important thing. But right behind quality, the speed is very important because now organizations are preaching SEO, search engine optimization is huge these days, and a big part of that is they want to get on Google. And if 3 people wrote a story about Ja Morant after practice, they want to see yours at the top. They want to see, okay, if we Google Ja Morant practice story right now, your story pops up at the top. And in order for that to be the case, You got to be able to be quick in this business.
So for you, how important is social media in terms of like the conversation that you're having with your editor, your boss? Like, is it things that like they're pushing you to do more things on social media? Like, what do you do well in the social media space, and what things do you want to improve on, or do they want you to improve?
Yeah, social media comes easy for me, and I think it's one of those things with being, a younger person who grew up in the social media era. There was an adjustment for me, like a lot of the older writers had to go from, waiting the next day until their story comes out in the newspaper. They'd know information, way before anyone else, and they'd hold that information until it dropped in the newspaper the next day when everyone finally sees it. Social media is all about instant gratification, instant reaction. You put it out there, boom, 2 seconds is up. The whole world knows 10 minutes later. It's trending on X, formerly Twitter. But that's how quick things happen now. So, I mean, uh, the social media part of it is just more natural to me. I push myself on social media hard because I try to interact with people as many as I can. I know, you have a lot of Grizzlies fans that ask a whole bunch of questions. Oh, is this player playing? How does this player look? How does that player look? And I try to answer, some just to keep that, that interaction going between myself and the fans. And more people are going to want to follow you. They say, hey, he interacts with us. He gives us good information and things like that. And that's how you build it up. So now when you post those story links and things like that, people are going to click on your stuff. And now it's driving more people to your work and things like that. Social media is a big part of it. I would almost say, it's hard to be a great journalist, sports journalist, that is, these days without a big social media presence. Now it's a lot of them still can do it. Like at the end of the day, most people are still going to be seeing your stuff online and stuff. But me, I try to post every story that I do on my social media accounts and, just build that brand.
Nah, I'm gonna firmly throw myself in the category of people that reached out to you, you engaged with it. Somebody that is not on the 8, 9, 10K follower level as you. So I appreciate that. It's cool to see that, like, it's not a thing where like it was just a fellow journalist coming up that you reached engaged with. That's something that you really intentional about, because you probably know too. It definitely allowed more journalists that are very bougie with the way that they engage with people. Very a lot more selective with, like, oh, they not before, like they're not verified, or they not, like I said, another journalist. So I've gotten big boys like that a couple of times, and now even the little stuff that I do now is like people like coming back to me like, oh, I've got unanswered DMs, Michael. I don't try to flex, but it's definitely like a thing to where I made that fan to intelligent voice transition, and it was like you didn't have to do it like that, bro. I just asked some questions. Appreciate you. Like you said, we talk about sports, and we're fans of it. And even like here, you talk about like the passion comes through, bro. Like the way that you love your job, like how much fun you have with it, and like this being like the dream, like it really does come through. But there's a downside to that. Having controversial stories or having to write like tough pieces. So what has been that side of the game for you? Like, what's been your most controversial story, and how did you deal with it?
Well, I mean, that's an easy one. If anyone that follows the Memphis Grizzlies, it's Ja Morant. It's all of, because when I first got here, I'm writing all these good things about Ja Morant, right? How he's one of the best young dynamic point guards in the NBA. And my first season on the beat was the first year he made the All-Star game. So wow, Ja Morant, first All-Star for the Memphis Grizzlies in X amount of years. And he wins the Most Improved Player award. The Grizzlies go to the second round of the playoffs, play the Golden State Warriors. Ja gets a Nike deal the next year. I mean, a signature shoe. He already had a Nike deal. He gets his own shoe, like the very next year. Like, and it's like, man, all these great things, and then boom, one instant. One situation with Ja pops up. Two situations with Ja pop up. Three situations with Ja pop up. Boom, then there's the gun on the Instagram live, and then the second one, after the first one where he got suspended, I don't remember if it's 8 or 9 games, but I believe it was a 9-game suspension. Yeah, 9-game suspension. Then the second time around in May, after the Grizzlies put out the playoffs, boom, another gun flashed in an Instagram live video, 25-game suspension. When these things happen, a lot of people, kind of really forget that my job as the reporter is to tell the facts. I can't say, oh, it's okay, Ja. We've all made mistakes, and you'll be fine. And because you can say some of that, but you have to hold people accountable. And that's what I had to understand. I mean, that's what I understood. I don't think I had to understand, but that's what other people probably have to understand. So that's when I start to get a little bit, you get a little bit of the snapback. It's different when you're writing about why the Grizzlies are one of the best young cores in the NBA, and everyone's like, "Oh, DaMichael, I love this story." And then you write a timeline story on, how things have kind of fell apart for Ja Morant over the last 3-4 months, and people are saying, "Why are you talking about this?" So it's you gotta develop thick skin, in this business. I was talking about interacting with the fans. There's the other side of that as well, where there's going to be a lot of people who try to troll you, and they're going to call you things, and they're going to say things to try to get under your skin. And I had to learn the best response is no response. If I respond to them, no matter how how good my comeback is, they probably win. You got to think about it. If you call LeBron James out on Twitter right now, you think, he ain't gonna respond. If he responds to you, he can say whatever he wants. In your mind's like, man, I got LeBron James to respond to me. And that's not to compare myself or for anyone else to do the same, but it's just to say that I had to learn that the best response is just, okay, you got it. You won because you don't know what you're talking about. But it's the controversial stories are all part of it, man. I'm always quick to remind people when they say, "Oh, why did you write this? Why did you write that?" Well, I also wrote about how the Grizzlies are doing charity work. I also wrote about all these good things. But when you cover a team, you're not covering just 40% of the team. You have to cover the ins and outs, the good, the bad, the ugly. And that's what my job is.
No, that's something that thankfully it hasn't been too much controversial stuff up here, but it's definitely a thing that being under an official school banner, it definitely a lot more sends a lot more balance into the line that we had to do. Not being professional, but also like there is more of the make sure you portraying the school in a good light, and you probably know like access can be limited or things they'll quickly turn for you based on the type of stuff that you're writing, and that's always something that I've been keenly aware about, that you play with the cards that you're dealt right now, but it is something that like I'm not trying to antagonize anybody, but I do kind of I ain't ready to jump out there and have that full scope of the team and be able to really give thoughts critically about the team in a way that it's like that same way I have the glowing reviews and things that I can celebrate. It's also, as you may know, some of the more hard-hitting stuff that gets a little bit more engagement, but that also does show like you're more like true journalistic colors, to where like you can see that I can report the facts and not have vendetta, but just like do a straight presentation of it in an unbiased way and present this information to you. And obviously it'll be negative situations, but it wasn't a thing to where I've been waiting to talk about this guy negatively, or I've been trying to hold this back until then. So it's that's something that as we get into this game, that's something that I haven't touched on a lot, that I'm low-key ready to see how I respond to it, honestly.
Yeah, but, man, it's gonna be big for you. I mean, it's literally it's part of the job, and it's unless you're working on PR, that's what you got to do, because guess what? And I compare it to this. This is the best comparison that I give people. Like, think about it as if you were a police officer. As a police officer, you're going to go in the community, you're going to do good work, and you're going to arrest criminals and things like that. And people are going to be grateful that you do that. But guess what? Sometimes it's going to be that guy in the neighborhood who gives to all the people and they see him as a hero, or it's going to be that celebrity that everyone loves in the city, and you see him doing wrong. What are you going to do? You're going to turn your back and say, "Oh man, that's the best. That's the big rapper in the city. The city's going to go crazy if I arrest him. I can't arrest him, even though he's doing criminal activity like everyone else." Or are you going to do your job and hold him accountable just like you hold everyone else accountable? And I think that's the best comparison.
Game. I ain't the best video editor, but if I could draw this up like I got a huge production budget, I would have like boom, game right there. Is that something I never like really looked at it like that, to like, hey, that's just a really apt comparison, and a thing that just brings like that brevity and severity of it to a full scope. So like, hey, we're like us, taking a couple of strays or having somebody write negatively about you. Like, it's only so much that they're really going to affect you, but something like that, like it lets you that full scope of like, hey, your life can change based on the perception and what you decide you do or don't decide to do, even though it is the right thing. But that goes a little bit into what I want to talk about, just like beyond sports, because when in our work, like, yeah, sports is like the end all be all, and that's even sports writers and other people that you observe is going to be primarily in sports. But there's other people that's, writing at a high level that never have addressed a sports topic. So do you believe that beat reporters and sports writers are kind of put in the box in terms of like the intelligence that we have or the stuff that we can talk about? And do you have any non-sports aspirations in the space?
I mean, the box is the fact that we're doing this all the time. Think baseball writers, they're 162 games. So you're writing 162 days plus sometimes you're doing a podcast on the off day, or you're doing, a preview story or a profile story on the off day. So you're writing a whole bunch. And in the NBA, it's the same way, right? Most of the games are every other day, sometimes 2 days in between, but you got practices in between those days. If you're on the road, you got a game, then you fly out the next morning, and then you go into the next game the next day. So it's like it's a lot to kind of balance. And I think, at outside interest sometimes can get lost in there, and that's why a big part of this is kind of not losing yourself. And so yeah, to answer your question, I do have outside interest. I mentioned like baseball. Like I love to just occasionally go to the batting cage, get away. I have friends that play basketball. I go hoop with them. I love a lot of like Netflix and Hulu series. So sometimes when I just want to just debrief from everything, I just kick my feet up in my bed, and I'll give me a bag of chips, or I go cook me some pizza or some wings or something. And I sit back and I just watch 6 or 7 episodes of my favorite shows and just, kind of unplug from everything else. I love spending time with family. So yeah, like at the end of the day, I'm all about competition. So yeah, I love, like, if I go do something, I want to go to the batting cage with somebody and see, who's going to hit better and things like that. But yeah, I definitely love to kind of unplug and get away, because this is so much of my day-to-day life that when I'm not doing it, I really don't like talking about it and don't want to think about it.
No, I feel you. Like I said, in terms of like non-sports journalistic stuff in the field, like, do you have any aspirations of like, like Stephen A, somebody like that is a goat to a lot of people in the field. Like he's trying to kind of work his way into like that late night talk show type of deal. Do you have
Yeah,
like ultimate end goals that don't revolve around sports for you as a journalist?
man, not really. I mean, I definitely wouldn't mind. Like I said, I think of myself as like a goofy person, so I love to get in the acting field. Actually, when I was at school at Tennessee, I ended up taking so many, film classes, because we had to take one film class as a part of, the journalism route. But I ended up taking so many film classes because I liked the first, and I was like, okay, I want to take the next level. Okay, now I want to take this. Now I want to take that. Next thing you know, they were like, well, you're one away from a minor in film studies, right? And I was like, well, might as well get it. So I ended up minoring, in film studies when I graduated just from that. So I love to get into, some other things like acting, and kind of doing things like that. But at the end of the day, I mean, I love sports and I love kind of, all that stuff. But another sneaky one for me would be, it's not sports journalism, but it's also staying in the sports field. It's possibly working kind of behind the scenes with a team one day, potentially, like being in a front office. That's something I could potentially explore one day as well, that I really like the idea of.
Mm. And I, I'd like to hear that because a lot of people, especially up here, when you got like it's a very highly esteemed kind of places, like place where it's a lot of you got a lot of different personalities. I'll just put it like that. So it's a lot of people pride themselves on like, oh, I don't, this is just only my job, or it's like something that I want to have this well diverse range of different things that don't really seem connected, but I have the ability to do all of them. So for me, I feel kind of the same way you do. Like I didn't get into this because it's you know I just something I picked up doing. I'm like casually doing. Like I love sports, and I want my life to revolve around talking about sports as my career. So to hear that you say that, like it's kind of refreshing in a way that like a lot of people up here, or just in general, like you're seeing more and more people that like they're using sports as a way to get into other stuff. And I've
Yep.
never really looked at it like that for me. So that like that's a really refreshing perspective, and somebody that, like I said, I admire in this space. I'm glad to hear you be like, okay, no, it is okay for this to kind of be your main steez, and you can really rock out in this place. Just a quick hit. What is one piece of advice that you've heard or you learned in the field that you wish somebody would have gave to you while you was at school or growing up?
Man, one person told me that your network can be your net worth. And that's an important one. I know we touched on it already a little bit, but just from the perspective of you can be the most talented person out there. Like I will say, I wouldn't say that I was the most talented person in my class, in the class of 2019, at the University of Tennessee, but I'll put my work ethic up there with anyone. And I'll put my ability to establish relationships up there with anyone. And with that being the case, I think that's kind of, the fact that I was talented and I was able to network to the point where when people, had opportunities come up on their desk, I was a name that came on their mind. That helped me out instead of them going to seek out someone that they've never talked to before. So, yeah, man, it's just the importance of the networking. When I first got to college, it wasn't really a thing for me because I really didn't understand it. And I looked at it as like, oh, that's fake. I'm not going to just go in somebody's face and, hey, I'm DaMichael. And it's like, that's it. But over time, you learn the value of it and things like that. And it kind of ended up working out for me. But yeah, the importance of that.
Yeah, network. Again, that's one of them other moments like that. That's you in black and white on Instagram Reel with the motivational music behind you. Like your network is your network. Like I definitely can see that. And also that's another thing that I kind of going through myself is like, yeah, I like having friends, I like being personal, but like I'm still like breaking down that barrier. Like, yeah, I'm not just trying to be just like you said, in somebody's face of like forming a relationship with the goal of like I may need you in there. I feel like you said that does feel kind of fake, but I just had to reframe it as like, well, you can never have too many friends, or you can never have somebody that you can be afraid to call on. So I definitely had to, like I said, reframe it in that way and not be afraid. Just like you said, not feel like it's fake. It's just like an investment in myself more.
Right. I gotta get ready to roll in a second because the Grizzlies injury report just came out. So
no, you're good. Like I said, you've given me honestly way more time than I expected to. It was just a conversational thing, and we got to rolling. Actually, let me just.